Last year in Japan, I found this beautiful dress pattern by Gunnii Rappore. This dress comes in one size and therefore is oversized and will be worn with a belt to give you some shaping in the waist area. And since spring has recently arrived in Berlin with lots of sunshine, it is just the perfect time to sew up this dress. As always, I started the project by tracing the pattern. I didn't want to cut into the sheets just in case I decided not to keep this pattern or a friend might want to sew it. I knew from the beginning that the dress might be too oversized for my style, and it is very likely that I have to make some alterations so that the pattern works better for me. Before sewing up the linen fabric I wanted to use, I cut out a mock version from some cheap cotton fabric. Here we are in my sewing corner, and I studied for the last 30 minutes the instructions of the Japanese sewing pattern. It is quite challenging to get the translation somewhat right. I use Google Translate. I take a picture basically from with my iPhone, translate it via Google Translate, and then make a screenshot of the translation basically, so that I have an idea what to do. I saved it on the iPad, as I said. I found Google Translate so far has the best translation from Japanese to English. If you have any better apps, please let me know. But yeah, I think I have a vague idea what to do first and how to tackle the project. Some of the instructions are clearer than others. But yeah, let me show you the instructions. So these are the instructions, quite sparse. Here is a list of things that are somewhat good-ish translated. I think the little illustrations are actually better translated. I have it here on my iPad, this and the other one. So I hope I can, manage to get something done with that. So wish me luck. For the mock-up, I followed the sewing instructions and started with the pockets. They are inseam pockets but have a very nice cutout detail on the front pattern piece. The instructions were not clear if you finish this detail with only understitching or with top stitching. So I did both versions on either one of the sides to compare the result later.
The second pocket lining is then attached to the other pocket lining. The next point in the instructions were the facings, which you attach to both of the front pattern pieces, followed by sewing up the center front seam.
So I finished the front pieces together with the facing. I attached it in the middle, as I guess I should. And now, so one thing that keeps me a little bit puzzled is, so my left piece is longer than my right piece, and I don't really why that is the case. I mean, I see here in the schematics that you have a little notch here, but if I look at my piece, let's use this one. So this one is the piece. It doesn't show a notch here. So I'm not sure if I'm supposed only to sew until here, turn it over or fold it over into the inside, and then have a little notch here. I'm not completely sure how and why. I think I will play around with that. It might also not be the biggest issue since I can shorten the length anyways. I think the hemline is 5 centimeters. But yeah, that is a discrepancy that I found. I guess I made something, I think I made a mistake. I can't really figure out if there's some details here in the translation that is basically, just wrongly translated. But yeah, the next step would be to fold this over here by the 5 centimeters. And for that, where's the ruler? Let's see, 5 centimeters is that? No. That we do as the instructions are telling us, so I guess somewhere over there. Let's pin that. And now let's see. And I'm only stitching 4 centimeters here. And now it is a notch. The notch is this notch. So everything should be fine-ish with my length. And I guess I will just do this, the length correction when I'm hemming it. Okay, let's see, 4 centimeters would be here-ish. That actually looks like the neckline. I also just pinned everything in place because I did not know if I should do an understitching, but I think I should. Or if I maybe actually do a visible stitch line here. But yeah, okay. So far so good. It is the next day and we are back in the sewing corner. I only have a few things actually left on the prototype, so we have to do the center back seam, the facing, shoulder seam, and side seams. And if we finish the side seams, we then have to attach the little belt loops. So it's not a lot of things to do, and I hope I can finish it within an hour because I would like to get some more work done for the day. So I better get going. Welcome to my slumber party. No, it's not a nightgown, even though it looks a little bit like a nightgown, or it reminds me of some nurse attire. So, I don't know, I remember vaguely a picture of my grandmother maybe having something like that on. But yeah, no, this is the finished prototype. I made it of this cream cotton, so hence it is a little bit stiffer since it's not really washed and anything. But yeah, that is how the dress right now looks. Maybe let me get my hair out of the way so you can see the neckline a little bit better. Yesterday I noticed one thing when I finished it, that the neckline was not perfectly aligned, and now I'm looking in the mirror. I can see it's not 100% perfect. Yeah, so I have to really be careful when I sew this up out of the real fabric. So I basically ripped out the center front seam again, realigned it, repositioned it, and sewed it back so that it becomes a little better. And then also I didn't have the problem with the not matching hemline anymore. So yeah, so this part is definitely the area that where I also really need to focus and be mindful when I'm sewing. Otherwise, it's easy to make some mistakes, especially since here's the center front seam, and then you fold this over by, I think they say 5 centimeters. For me, it's more 4 centimeters, which is fine. But yeah, I definitely have to keep that in mind when I'm sewing. So let's start with the neckline, or maybe let's put on, I didn't sew the belt, but I have this little loop thingy here that I will use as a belt for now to give you an impression how it actually looks when it's belted up. They also have it in a picture that you wear it usually with a belt. And I will definitely not wear it without a belt because it is really oversized. But let's get that in place. Then it becomes better and maybe more clearer that is actually a dress and not a nightgown. Yeah. Okay, so the neckline. What I changed here, so you only have this facing, and I think they'd say to understitch the color. The facing piece, understitch it, and that's it. That is how you finish it, which I did not really like, since I had the impression that everything turns still up. So I gave a visible stitching line basically on the neckline, and I think I will do precisely the same with the fabric that I will use later. But other than that, I think I will not change anything. Yes, you can see, that is my shirt, but you can see my bra stripes. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but I think, it's a summer dress. I guess I will have longer hair. You don't really notice it that much. I think I will not meddle with that around. But yeah, that is this. But yeah, as I said, it has too much fabric in the main area. But before we go there, so this is around, let's see, it is like a hand with under my knee, which also doesn't have the hem yet. So 5 centimeters would be rolled up, since 5 centimeters is the hemline. And I think I will leave it as it is for now before I really go, I will not change anything, because I think I might like the length minus 5 centimeters. So it might actually be a length that I can wear, or that I feel comfortable wearing. So I will definitely not change anything on that. But my main issue is the amount of fabric that you can see here. It is really too much fabric. And now it is even super stiff from the fabric that I use for prototyping. But I checked what kind of dimension this dress has when I lay it flat in the waist area. I used the belt loops as a marker where roughly their waist area would be. And this dress has around 58 centimeters in width. And then I compared it to the kale shirt, or the kale dress, since this dress is also oversized, but I don't have the impression that it's like too oversized to be uncomfortable for me. So this one has the width basically of 50 to 51 centimeters. So this dress has between 7 and 8 centimeters more fabric everywhere. So, and that is one thing that I definitely want to change. I really like the pockets, I have to say. But yeah, I think I will just maybe remove that belt for a moment to show it to you. But I will basically just curve it a little bit more. So you can see this is roughly A-line shaped, but not like completely A-line shaped. But I think I will use the side seams and curve it more so that this part comes a little bit more in, and also maybe curve the armhole a little bit more, similar to, yeah, I think the kale shirt really has a nice curve underneath it. Here you can barely see a curve, and I think that might also add a little bit of more definition under the arms. So here you can see here's a lot of fabric right now. So I hope I can get that out with just shaping it a little bit. What I did also yesterday is, so you have this fold, and I basically removed some fabric with folding it just deeper. And then I immediately noticed that I definitely prefer it if it is just a little less fabric. Around this area, I guess it was. Yeah, so it has just a little bit more definition, and I guess I will remove 2 centimeters on the front side and 2 centimeters on the back side where I curve more in, and then it will basically have the 8 centimeters in total. Because also in the back it has too much fabric. I don't know how I feel about it, but I will use it anyway on the prototype first and shape it a little bit more towards my body, and then see how it is. But yeah, that's definitely then more usable, I think. One thing I noticed for the finishing technique, so I mentioned the neckline already. That is a thing I will change, and I think the order of instructions that they had for finishing the armhole was with bias tape or bias binding, and then after you applied the bias binding to your armhole, you would finish the side seam. And that I found super strange, because then you have an exposed seam in the area where you join the underarms, and I don't really like that. So I think I will change it to first sew the side seams and then apply the bias binding on it. But yeah, and the other thing that I changed, or I was not 100% sure what the instruction actually says, is for the pocket that you have on your front. I have one side that has top stitching, and this side doesn't have top stitching. And I think this one rolls a little bit more, and I think I prefer it when it's more flattish, that seam. So I will definitely go with the top stitching here. But other than that, I think there's not really much to change. So it is not like an awful lot of things to modify, just a little bit of shaping, and yeah.
As I mentioned, I removed 2 centimeters of both sides of the seams. I started with one pattern piece first and then traced a new side seam to the other. With that, I made sure that both seams have still the same length.
I finished the alterations on the dress pattern, and I think it is around 8 centimeters that I removed from where roughly my waist would be. And yeah, I think it already looks better. I mean, still I would not wear it without a belt, because it is really too oversized for my liking. But I think you can see that even without a belt, it has a better shape on the side and under the arm, and also the arms, I would say, have a better, at least it looks better to me. It is not like overwhelmingly, but maybe that's just the imagination here. But let me show you how it looks with the belt. Yeah, so one thing I noticed, but I'm not sure what the original is, so you have these pleats over here as well. So I will see how I will tackle that once I really have the finished garment. But I think on the front area I will not change anything anymore. But what I've noticed, and you may notice as well on the side seams or close to the side seams, where a lot of fabric is wrapping around from the back. So, and I think that will happen all the time once I'm having the belt tied. So what I think is actually to remove fabric from the center back seam. Since you have, I would say unnecessarily, a center back seam, but since it's there anyways, I think I will check where roughly this waist area is again, and then remove good 2 centimeters from the back. Let's see. Yeah, I think, let's see. Ooh, that is around 6 centimeters, so 12 centimeters in total away. I mean, maybe I will pin it in place and check how it looks. So I pinned the center back seam a little bit, or not just a little bit, quite a bit in. And I'm not sure if you can really see a difference from the front. Maybe, maybe not. But in the back, I think you can see that it is pinned away. So I have really to work on the center back seam, because now, since I just pinned it, it is not curved on the area, so that you will see these little folds and everything that I definitely want to remove. But yeah, I definitely prefer it now how it looks. It is still a little bit nightgowny, but that can actually also be just the fabric since it is so white. Let me show you how it looks with this belt. I think it gives quite nice, gives you quite a nice silhouette. So yeah, that is how it looks now. And yeah, I mean, there is still some fabric in the side seam that you will always have. It is an oversized one, but I think it is now better. Maybe I have to check with the center back seam if I have to remove some of the width of the skirt in that center back. But yeah, I think other than that, it is really nice. Maybe I will check if I should remove it from the center back seam, the part, or if I have to, or should better be doing this shaping in the side seam. I don't want to distort that piece too much. But yeah, that's it. Let me show you quickly the fabric that I want to use. That is this one. It's the linen fabric that my partner got for me from Serbia. There's a very beautiful, there are many beautiful fabric stores in Belgrade that I like to visit. And this one caught my eye and I didn't bought it, so he had to get back and get it for me. So I have around 4 meters, I think, or 3 meters, so plenty of fabric for this dress. I'm not 100% sure how transparent it gets. That I need to check before sewing it. I mean, under this or over this, it really looks not transparent at all. But maybe it just looks like that if you, I think it is really just because of the sun, when I see the sun through that. Yeah, so that is the fabric that I want to use. And also, make a lot of changes to the instructions, since I guess the translation is on one point not so clear, and I said in the other clip that there were some construction methods that I did not enjoy using, so a mess. I think that I will change when I sew up this dress from this fabric. Okay.
In the end, I removed another 2 centimeters of both side seams instead of meddling with the center back seam. With all my modifications done, it was time to cut out the pattern in the linen fabric. I decided to cut the back piece without the seam allowance on the fold, since the seam is not really necessary. The front and back pieces are quite large and leave you with strange offcuts. I tried my best to use these for facings and pocket lining. I changed the sewing order a bit to accommodate my changes to the finishing techniques, but also to speed up the process a bit. First I sewed the facings to my front pieces, but with a gap of approximately 2 centimeters to the shoulder seam, to have a neater finish when attaching the back pieces and facings. Then I understitched the facings. Next up are the pockets. I didn't change the process from my mock-up version, but as I mentioned, I liked the top stitching on the cutout detail much better and did this for both pockets. When you finish the pocket, it naturally lays on the front piece, since it is only attached there. For the front pleat detail, I changed the sewing instructions slightly. First I sewed the center front seam and used my serger to finish them. Then I top stitched along the V-ish shape the front creates. I don't really mind the top stitching, especially in a busy fabric like this. You hardly notice the stitching line anyways. I sewed the pleat detail like the mock-up version, but made sure the neckline lines up nicely. With the front finished, I moved to the back piece and sewed the back facing on. Here as well, I left a gap to the shoulder seam and understitched the facing. Then it was time to sew the shoulder seams for the dress as well as the shoulder seams for the facing. With the neckline and facing closed, I sewed them together where I left the gaps, understitched the facing and continued the top stitching where I stopped with the front neckline. The only seam left open was the side seam. I found it a bit hard on my nerves to trust the seam allowance, since you don't want to catch the opening detail of the pocket in your side seam. But sewing slowly was key, and in the end everything worked out fine. I have to say I like the side seam with the pocket detail, it really gives a nice finish. Before I could finish the dress, I had to cut out some more pieces, the bias binding for the armholes and the belt. I am so happy that I bought a clear quilting ruler. This makes it so much easier to cut bias tapes or other rectangular shapes. Only with the belt it is more challenging since it is a very long strip of fabric. I pinned the bias tape to the right side of the armhole. With that I could see where to join both pieces to have a continuous bias tape. I sewed the tape, then pressed it into the armhole, pinned it first and sewed it from the left side. I found this a bit easier than sewing it from the other side. My preferred method to finish a hem of a dress is by pressing over twice. Unfortunately, I thought the hem was 5 cm deep and my first helping stitch line is 2 cm from the edge. I corrected that afterwards to 1 cm, since the hem is 4 cm deep. This little helper gives you a nice indicator where you have to press the hem up first. My second stitch line was then 3 cm from the first pressed hem. I marked the 3 cm on my machine with a Sharpie, instead of using an attachable ruler. They sometimes come up a bit loose and then I have a wonky stitch line which I don't like. I pressed the hem up again and pinned it and finished it with the proper seam. The last thing to sew was the belt. and this again involved a lot of pressing. I had 2 metal D-rings in my stash and the belt came together quite quickly in the end. With the dress finished, it was time to enjoy the spring weather and wear the dress. I am super happy with how the dress turned out, but without removing 16 centimeters in total, I would have not felt confident wearing it. My favorite detail other than the neckline is actually the pockets. I really like how it gives a very neat finish to the edge, but also doesn't feel too bulky on the side since it stays close to the front of the dress. I might incorporate these kind of pockets in future drafting projects. But for now, I will enjoy the sunny weather in my new dress. Thank you for keeping me company while making this dress. I hope you can enjoy the sunshine wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Happy crafting and take care!